Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Jakarta EE Tech Talk. And today we want to talk about building a language server for Jakarta EE. And we are excited to be here and looking forward to see what the team will share with us. So thank you all for joining us. Good morning or good afternoon or even good evening wherever you are. So yeah, so let's take a look at what we have here. Peggy, do you mind to move to the next chart? So as we all know, Jakarta EE is our open collaborative efforts on building out the next generation or the open cloud native Java APIs for the community, right? So that's what we all like and love, and that's what we are all looking at and working on. So that's the APIs that we want to provide to developers, right? As the cloud native Java community through Eclipse for developers to help build their applications easily, their cloud native applications easily. And obviously that's the APIs, and we as developers work with their code and so on, you will need a set of toolings. And we do want to provide as a community tooling or coding assistance for developers to work with Jakarta EE APIs, right? So and that's what brings us to the a new project that we have proposed, and it's been approved for creation, and that's been created under Eclipse technology as the Eclipse LSP4Jakarta project. Which the idea is to, through the use of language server protocol, provide coding assistance for developers that are going to work with or want to work with Jakarta EE APIs. Right. As part of that process, we actually we are collaborating. Or we came across the CANOSP project, and they are working through the CANOSP project with a team of students who are on the call today, looking at how we can create a first language server for Jakarta EE. Right, and today that we want to take the opportunity to share with the community what the team of students what they have done. Right, CANOSP is a program for university students to give them a chance to work on open source projects from different communities out there, right, including Eclipse. And we are excited that we got the chance to do it this round for the Jakarta EE language server. Right, so let's see what the team has for us here. So that I will just hand the time over to the team to show us what they have done and what they have learned. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get to everything, let me just quickly go over what YK also said, which is like, what is our project? It is to develop a language server for Jakarta EE. Specs specifically, we're gonna develop a corresponding Eclipse IDE client plugin. So it's like gonna work for Eclipse, and communicate with the language server. Eclipse would be able to communicate with the language server using the plugin. And our focus of development is on the set of open cloud native Java APIs of Jakarta EE. So specifically for Jakarta EE, not like for the whole Java language. And it's to improve the developer experience, essentially. So what is a language server? So a language server is effectively gonna decouple a task that you usually see in like IDEs and text editors. So a language server provides the user with language support features such as snippets and document errors and warnings and code completions. The stuff that you usually see in your like IDEs and text editors when you like download extensions for your text editors such as VS Code. So with language server protocol, now we have a way to decouple the task of doing these tasks essentially outside of the IDE process, the text editor process. And by doing that, we can get better and faster language support and like for us like specification support across multiple IDEs and text editors. And essentially, it's all to just improve the developer experience and have better compatibility and better, faster better and faster adoption. Sorry, adoption for like that server and like those specific specs. Yeah. So I'm gonna pass along to Ankush to talk to you about what is a language server more deeply.
Yeah. So, hi everyone, I'm Ankush. So essentially what it is, it's a method of communication. So as changes occur in your IDE, it will pass these notifications to the language server, and there will be back and forth communication during your typing or creation of new documents, things of that nature. And we have real-time diagnostics and snippets happening. And that's just a quick overview of the back and forth communication. And go to the next slide, please. And so the tech stack we used for this project is actually quite simple. It's using Java Eclipse APIs, and of course, the JSON RPC. LSP4J is a library that exists that implements the language server protocol in Java, and we heavily rely on the JDT to help us create these diagnostics because that is built into Eclipse. And that is the tech stack for this project. And in terms of how it'll work for the end user, what we know is that the language server will run in the background, and the client will essentially consume this server. And when calls are made to this language server, it asks your IDE for information from the JDT, which already exists on the Eclipse IDE. And so the user will essentially have a working language server in this manner. And that is the overview of how it'll work. And you'll get several different features like completion, diagnostics, hovers, and snippets. And that is the overview for the end user. And I will pass it along to Pengyu to talk about what we've accomplished.
Hi, I'm Pengyu, and about what we have accomplished, we have implemented like several frameworks for this project. And first one is code snippet framework. We get it down with like some simple snippets, and then we have diagnostic frameworks. We have also implemented some like diagnostic messages in correspond to different errors, and code action framework in correspond to the code diagnostic. So each diagnostic message will have a code action to help resolve it and giving user some advices. And then for the hover information, you could basically hover over to specific location, and it will show the information for that specific term or probably phrase. We also leverage JDT framework for this language server. And yeah, so all of this can be concluded as we have completely low specs Jakarta Servlet 5.0, Jakarta Persistence 3.0, and Jakarta Beam Validation 3.0. So let's get to the real demo time. I will show you some basic servlet at first, I guess. So for the demo, I have something set up here already, but I'll clean it up just to show like this snippets creation. So for the servlet, we have all the snippet, but here I will choose the simple one for demo. So I will choose this, right, get, and it just gives me all this code that I can use. And by some modification, oops. Okay. I'll set my path to demo. And right. So here I should have a, right, let me comment this out. So here I should have a Open Liberty get request server. And which this point, and hitting that, yep. So this message is succeeded, received and showing up in the browser. From there, I can also show you how to kind of filter. So filter, same process. We can just simply, what is the packaging name? Okay. And oops. Okay. There, set it up, and we can also need to give a URL pattern, which here also. I'll call it filter for simple reason. So from here, if I doing a refresh, it will like having a filter, but like just to show, it actually gets through this filter. I'll print something out down to the browser just for demo purpose. So filter is here. I click refresh. That filter is here. One of the other unique things is that if user doesn't want to using a snippet and they come their own code all along and they made some mistakes, we have diagnostic, as I introduced before, to suggest there is this errors that you probably want to fix before you run your code. And if you're not sure what to do, we also have this suggestion for you. So it can be a simple fix. And same goes to extension for get point, basically. Yep. And that's my part. I'll pass it back to Ankush.
I think you have to close your share screen so I can do that.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find the button. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so I'm now sharing my screen. So now for this demonstration, I'll be talking about how the language server can interact with Jakarta persistence and make that process more viable and easier for the user to create a persistence application. So here what I have is a Open Liberty application, and I have two files here. This is an HTTP servlet, as what was shown by Pengyu, and this is a class to create cats, because I want to persist cats in my database. And what I'm going to do here is I have a cat class, which I haven't created yet, which I'll be showing you, and how we can create that faster with snippets and use diagnostics to ensure our code is correct. So what I'm going to do here is I will first use a snippet to create a persistence entity, because even if I don't know, or I want to create it faster, I can use a snippet. And you see there's a quick description of what it is. So I'll click that and we have the snippet. And so I'll resolve the package name later. The entity will be called a cat. The name can be anything. I will call it cat ID. And the field we care about for a cat is a color. All right, so now after this, our entity is set up. I'll resolve the package name. And now I'll show you some of the diagnostics that we have to ensure for code correctness. So now if we have a constructor for color, one of the constraints on a persistent entity is that it must have a constructor that's empty. So our diagnostics actually check for that. So if we remove that constructor, you'll notice that there's a message showing up. And it says that I need to have an empty constructor. Another diagnostic that I'll showcase is that none of the fields within the entity can be final. So this is something that we check for. So let's say a field is a method or a instance variable. So if I add final to this field, you'll see a diagnostic shows up saying, oh, this entity cannot contain any methods that are declared final. So in that way, you can ensure code correctness. And now I'll show you how I can actually connect this application or this model to the HTTP servlet. So here what you have, I have some code that I've already set up. I'm going to set up a query and a toString method simply for ease of viewing. And now I will proceed to connect the application. So one thing you need to connect is a persistence context, and we already have a snippet for this as well. And there we go. We've now set up the application, we've connected it, and that took not very long at all to actually make the entity model. So the application is running, and I'll show you that I in fact currently should not have any cats in my database as I make a GET request to the servlet. So now if I want to create a cat, you'll see, and persist this cat, I can say color equals blue to make a blue cat, and you'll see that I successfully created a cat. And now if we check in the database, we'll see that we in fact persisted a cat. So this is a way to showcase that we can actually use snippets to create working code quickly. And now I'll pass it off to Reza to continue the demos. Reza, you're muted.
That I'm in the middle of making. It has one field right now. I want to make some more fields for it, and I want to assign them in the constructor. And then at the very end, I want to test it out using bin validations. So bin validations allows me to have some constraints on my fields, for example, that are essentially helping me to validate that that class, the values of that class really quickly. So here I have a positive constraint on my student ID, which is an integer, and after I run a bin validation validate thing that I will show you, that will essentially look at that object that has a student ID field, and then it will validate it. So now I'm gonna, with the help of the language server features that we have, I want to make some of these more fields and see if I see any problems or I see any quick ways for me to make these fields. So first of all, let me make a field for this graduating student that says that it's basically happy. So let me make an assert true, actually, because I want to always feel happiness. So I'm going to make a field that's let's say maybe it's an integer, just 0 and 1s. It's like C language. It's not weird, as if I haven't coded in Java and I don't know what Booleans are a thing. And let's just call it is happy. And yeah, and then I'll move on, and I'm happy, but then, oh, so there is a diagnostic. So it says this annotation can only be used on Boolean and Boolean type fields. Oh, so I need to, for using this constraint, I need to actually make this a Boolean. Okay, let's quickly go do that. All right, so that should fix it. Okay, that's good. So now let me make some more. I need one more to saying that I'm not sad anymore. So let me make this big Boolean, or it doesn't really matter. Let me make quickly make an assert false field. Yeah. So I quickly went into I typed in control space on my computer and opened up the snippets. And now I have an assert false field that's quickly there. I just rename it as sad, and that should be good because that was already there. So I need a graduation date for this graduating student, but it's going to be the same for everyone, I think, for all the graduating students that I want to add. Let me actually make it a future or present object. So this is basically saying, is this date in the future or present constraint and then validation specs. And let me make it static, actually, because I just want to add people who are graduating next year on May, for example. And I'm going to make it a calendar object, and it's just going to, I'm just going to name it graduation date. And that should be good. Let's see. Oh, there's a problem. And I can't use static fields because constraint annotations of bin validations are not defined on static fields. They actually need a value. So, okay, that's a bummer, but I think I can manage with having one for each of the objects. And I need GPA of the person. So I could have it like be at min and something, but I want it to be bound between boundaries. So let me quickly just use my snippets and go to use my min-max snippet, which is going to quickly bound a number like between 0 and 100. I can change the values. Well, the GPA of graduation student is like at least 50, right? So I can bound it to be 50 to 100. And we can call it GPA. And finally, I need an email address, so I can probably email them their degrees because there's no graduation ceremonies. And yeah, quickly I went in just in the in my snippets. I had an email address already filled, and I'm just going to call it email address. So it's almost done. So essentially, now if I uncomment these assignments in the constructor, I have a fully working graduating student. Now I can just quickly test it out. So what do we have here? I have a test here is using the bin validation API basically, and it's basically making like this validation factory. This is all like how to use bin validation API. But essentially, I can check all these fields with just that, with just checking the bin validation if I have any constraint violations here. So I just have like one assert, but I'm checking basically all these fields. So that's the cool thing about bin validations. Now I have here some values. Let me run quickly a test. I run Maven verify. And that should give me one test fail. Yes. Oh, it's not a well-formed email address. It's line 41. Well, that's I think for everyone. But yeah, so it's not a well-formed email address. Oh, I was using hashtags instead of @signs. That's a bummer. It's kind of dumb, but it should be okay now. Let me quickly run it again and see if that fixed it. Yeah, now the test runs. Still fails, but that always fails. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So that was how to make basically a bin validation API, but with our language server, you could quickly get snippets and diagnostic information that is useful when you're making bin validation and bin validated class and so on. So I pass that along to Kathryn to finish up, basically.
Thank you, Reza, and thank you again to all our students for working on this project. You guys really contributed a lot over this semester. So let's continue on and discuss what's next. So currently the project creation for Eclipse LSP4Jakarta is in progress. And as you saw in those demos, we're working on completing the web profile specs. So you saw some demos for servlet, persistence, bean validation. So we're looking at moving forward to the rest of the web profile specs after this. And how you can get involved. So currently this project is hosted under the Microshed organization. This was a repo created for the CANOSP contribution specifically. So you can definitely go over there for more information about the project, and you can feel free to open issues for features you would like to see included. And once the LSP4Jakarta project is created, we'll see you under the Eclipse GitHub repo. So I saw there was a question about where you can find more information about the project. So for now, it is at the Microshed organization, and soon it will be under Eclipse. All right, thank you, everyone. Are there any other questions?
Right. So yeah, thanks to the team for what they have done here and showing us what they've done. As Kathryn mentioned, for what the team has done, it's on the Microshed today. So anyone actually can go in and take a look at what's done and contribute, or even look at the issues that's been open, right? But we are working on project creation. The project was just recently created, so we are looking to take what the team has done here to and contribute that to the formal project that will be under Eclipse on GitHub, right? The LSP4Jakarta project. So then going forward, for anyone that are interested in using it or contributing to the language server itself, or even to use it for extend it for the other clients, for instance, whether it's IntelliJ or VS Code and others, then feel free. We can discuss that further as we move forward under Eclipse, right? So today, as you have seen from the team, that we have an Eclipse client for the Eclipse LSP4Jakarta language server. So we're going to not only build out more of the APIs that we want to support that's coming through Jakarta EE, but at the same time, we'll look to extend the ecosystem to enable additional editors down the road. And then like Eva is asking, right? Apache, NetBeans, and so on can build on top of what we have here, assuming that they support language server protocol, right? So, yeah. So this is a quick tech talk on what we have here. So many thanks again to the team of students through the CANOSP project, right? To Riza, to Pangi, and Ankush, and also many thanks to our mentors on the Jakarta EE community site, Kathryn, Ryan, Kevin, Eric, and Neva as the project mentor for Jakarta EE LSP2. So yeah, let us know if you have any feedback, and we look forward to working with not only the CANOPS project going forward. I know there's more than just Jakarta involved in CANOPS. And we're also looking forward to working with the community to build out what we want to build out for Jakarta EE, to make Jakarta EE as great as it can be for cloud native Java developers. So thank you all. So we'll be in touch, and we'll hope to see you folks again on Jakarta EE Tech Talks.